Fred, I want to talk about a quote that I picked up from an interview, I think a while back that you made, and I may not have the quote exactly right, but you said that NPS is purely a cultural belief system, a measure of cultural belief. Um, so what are the core beliefs when you first meet either a client or a company? What are some of the things that stand out to you that tell you almost from the first 20 minutes that you talk about talking to people that tell you, hey, CX is probably going to work in this company very well, or CX is not going to work in this company very well?
Well, one of the ways I can tell is good people are not going to get into a relationship that's one-sided. They want to make sure that if you're going to invest in them, they want to be in a position to make sure that they're at least matching and can give value back, because that's the only sustainable. So you smoke out people who I call takers, the guys who are really willing to just abuse you and on to the next. Those kind of people, you're not going to convince them this is the right way to do business. I think that's only 5 or 10% of the world, but it's non-trivial. You got to keep an eye out for it. Second, when I talk about the real joy and inspiration that comes from enriching someone else's life, if people don't get that, they're probably not the kind of people that you want to hire or do business with. Most of us, if you step back and you're explaining to your grandchildren, what do you really want to accomplish with your life? Well, I want to leave the world a better place. What does that mean? It means that the relationships I've had have been better as a result. Enriching lives is at the core of make the world a better place into something practical and measurable. Of all the lives you touched, how many did you enrich? How many did you diminish? And good people want to end up with a real positive balance sheet there.
Okay. You talk about making that customer the very center of what you're trying to do. But in many companies, especially public companies, they also have other stakeholders. How do you get people to understand? And this is a bit of a struggle we have even with the clients that we're working with, some of which are large privately held companies, is how do you get them to understand that putting the customer right at the center, right smack in the middle of that bullseye, is going to take care of the other stakeholders? How do you convince people to do that?
I think the chances are that if you're part of a business that has grown to become a prosperous, substantial entity, the founder of that business understood this and believed in it, because that's the only way small businesses can afford to grow into big businesses. They get the idea that they are going to make customers so delighted with them, they're going to come back for more, refer friends, and so that's in their history. It's in their genetic makeup. Subsequent generations can somehow fall off track. They can sort of get fixated on the accounting numbers, and the bigger the business, the more it has to talk in financial terms. But in many ways, this is just returning to the roots that made the business successful in the first place. And most of what's getting in the way, I think, is there's really not a good metric that holds people accountable. You can talk about this stuff, love your customers and blah, blah, blah. But if you haven't agreed on a way you're going to measure progress and test innovations to see if they're worthwhile, then how can you take a risk and invest in delighting customers? So that's where Net Promoter has become an important factor. It's where earned growth is even better, because it's something an accountant can relate to, but it reflects the truth around, of all the customers you dealt with, how many are coming back for more and expanding their businesses and referring their friends.
One last question in this area. To what extent do you see existing, let's say, compensation systems or reward systems within organizations getting in the way of that customer focus, or are they?
No, I think compensation is pretty lousy today for the most part. If you're a salesperson, you get paid on what you sell. Often you get paid of what you get closed. I don't know if this is true in heavy equipment, but certainly in software, you've got a huge incentive to sell a ton of business in the first 12 to 18 months, because that goes to the salesman. The follow-on stuff is all presumed to be the service organization, so you don't get much commission in that. So the incentive is to oversell, overpromise, cram more than the customer needs down their throat in the first year, and then you don't really get hit with the costs of overselling because you're on to the next, and the commission that doesn't get earned is from the service guys who can't live up to your promises. That you go through the entire set of silos, and you get silo specific compensation that really it's at best it's orthogonal, but it's usually anti making customers happy. It's making the accountants happy, or it's making your boss happy in the silo, but very little. I contributed to a cross-functional experience that turned this customer into someone who just loves us and gives us all their business at a good price.